When it comes to minor antagonists in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it's a gamble whether or not you're going to get something mediocre with little to no presence, or someone who could have doubled as the main villain in their own way. And later parts would also have something that you would kind of classify as sort of a mid-boss for the part. Someone who isn't the main antagonist, but isn't a pushover minion either. Some examples of this being Akira from Part 4, Risotto Nero from Part 5, and the best example coming from Part 8, Jajolian, that being the man, no. Rock Human, no. The legend, Tamaki Damo, and his stand, Vitamin C. Tamaki Damo was a working capo for the Moriocho branch of the Rokakaka organization, specializing in the smuggling and distribution of the fruit around the area. And as a high-ranking member of this Rokakaka trade, he assumedly barely did any of the distribution work himself, and more so was an ideas and laundering type of boss. Though if he caught someone causing trouble for him and his company, he'd pay them a direct visit and try to convince them to stop with some money. Though before we get too into this, we should actually discuss the meaning behind his name. Tamaki Damo is a fun name that Araki got a lot of use out of, starting first with his family name, Damo, which is a direct reference to the can vocalist Damo Shizuki. Alongside this, Damo was given the name Tamaki because the kanji could be read directly as can, which Araki himself has said was a direct reference to the band, and the reason why Hato called him Kan-chan, and also why Damo's dry cleaning business is called Damo Can Clean. Along with this, Tamaki can also mean ring, which is in reference to how Damo himself uses his relationship with Hato to get close to his enemies. Now, Damo's design is in direct reference to the main character of the movie American Hustle, this being Irving Rosenfield, as not only do the two of them share the same figure, that being a moderately out of shape middle-aged man, but they also both run a secondary dry cleaning business on top of their criminal activities. They also both have committed identity theft at some point, and they even have the same style, this being an American gangster style, wearing the same sunglasses, suits, and having a similar comb-over haircut that is used for the same exact jokes. Along with this, Damo and Irving are very similar personality-wise. They're both people who play sort of idiots, but deep down are dangerous and witty criminals. With Irving having to set up people in the underworld for a sting operation to win his own immunity from the law, but all the while playing everyone around him, including the FBI agent who did set him up. With Damo, he plays the role of more of a reserved, polite, and unconventionally attractive dry cleaner who reveals that he's secretly a psychopathic killer who revels in the torment of his victim. Though both characters do have a genuine interest in their lovers, as it would appear that the relationship between him and Hato is also a reference to the relationship between Irving and Cindy Poser in the movie American Hustle, with them meeting under odd circumstances due to some jewelry. Also, at the time that they did meet, Cindy was working for a magazine and Irving was a successful underground criminal, similar to both Hato and Damo at the time, though the difference being where Irving sold forged art, Damo sold second chances, and his business was very important to him, important enough that he would weigh his products before and after shipment, and if anything got in the way of his profit, he would deal with it personally with his stand, Vitamin C. Vitamin C is a humanoid stand that takes the form of the upper torso of a human body with a jester-like cap and long transparent arm tendrils being produced from the shoulder downwards to act as its main body. It's almost like an odd mixture of a human and a jellyfish. Along with this, there are two other major themes of its design. The first being giant nuts in the shape of C's found throughout its entire body, given that it has the name Vitamin C. Though the other design theme is hands, which are based off Araki and Lucky Land Communications' own logo, the hands of the mangaka. This logo is described as the all-powerful hands of the mangaka, and seems to be implemented into Vitamin C's design because of the sheer control it gives Vitamin C and Damo over his enemies. And the way it does this is through its one ability, organic softening. How organic softening works is through the hands of Vitamin C, a mucus or grease-like substance is excreted, leaving behind sort of a fingerprint-like residue on a surface. Then, if an organism comes in contact with that mucus or grease, they will find themselves slowly softening over time until the target is unable to maintain their form. Their body is softened to a liquidy rubber state, including their skin, bones, and internal organs. Very similar to actually Soft Machine from Part 5, as in this liquid or deflated state, the body still functions normally, just in a puddle-like shape. Along with this, in their puddle-like state, they're basically the same consistency of water. Fish can swim through them as if they were water, and the person loses all ability to stand or move. Damo can also control how quickly this ability takes into effect, either allowing a target to slow burn into a softened state or instantly puddling them and knocking them to the side. Along with this, in this softened state, the person becomes way more fragile, to the point that a whole arm could be severed with a single folded yen bill, along with being able to block and bisect a punch with a single coin. This softening ability also works on a target's stand, seen when Soft and Wet's arm was severed in half with a coin, when Joshua and Nut King Call were flushed down the drain, and of course when Kira's sheer heart attack was puddled all around a room, bringing them to a complete stop. In fact, the only real weakness of the stand is that Vitamin C is limited by its range, as in a closed space, Damo is insanely strong, nearly invincible, but if you get into a more open area or just out of its range, your form will instantly be returned to you, which might be why Damo likes to corner his enemies before striking. Now, Vitamin C gets its name from the Can song of the same name, Vitamin C, and this specific song was chosen for two specific reasons. First, coming from one of the most memorable lyrics from the chorus of the song, "You're losing your vitamin C," which is sung by Damo himself, and if you take the lyrics seriously and look into some of the results of vitamin C deficiency, you'll notice some interesting similarities between that and Damo's softening ability, as someone who is suffering from vitamin C deficiency will begin to bruise more easily, their bones will weaken or soften over time, and they'll feel fatigued like their movement has been reduced in some way. And the second reason being that Araki actually recently discovered the band Can and loved the song Vitamin C, and wanted to use it in Part 5 as soon as possible. Even saying that he liked the song so much that he was kind of upset he hadn't heard about it sooner in life. Along with this, he loved Damo Suzuki's name and wanted to use it at some point. So basically, Araki worked to create a stand that would match the emotion and feeling that Vitamin C gave him when he listened to the song for the first time, along with creating an equally cool stand user that could take the name of a singer that he thought was really great, which might be why Damo feels so special in comparison to a lot of the other enemies in Part 8. And we can see impacts on Damo as a character based on Damo the artist. First, of course, you have the fact that Damo the rock human wears a large saxophone pin on his suit because Damo the singer is a skilled saxophone player. Along with this, Damo's operation of acting outside the main interests of the Rokakaka organization is based on Damo the singer split from Can, as he would pursue what he would call the Damo Suzuki Network, which was a tour dedicated to himself where he would perform improvised music specifically to make a name for himself. But a reference and a strong stand isn't what makes Damo great in the end, but more how he offers up a pretty unique experience as a villain in JoJo, as Damo is one of the few cases in the series that we get to see a scummy but thorough villain that actually we see being smart in the series, as not only do we learn how he was money laundering to begin with, as he would steal identities and purchase cleanings through his dry cleaner, but we also see him unusual suspecting his way right into a target's home and destroying them from within. And on the more thorough side of his character, we get to see him handle his business like a drug cartel, with him working to prevent any and all other supplies of the Rokaka from getting out, weighing his products before and after sale, and of course hiring multiple gophers to launder money for him so the money isn't all ending up in a single place and easily trackable. And it's through this thorough persona that this scummy nature comes through, as not only do we see him slicing and dicing people to revel in their suffering, but he laughs and records Norisuke when a fish is swimming through his body, and plays mind games with Josefumi when he's trying to get him to sell out Kira. His actions are even considered very scummy by his own race, with Urban Gorilla referring to Damo and his crew as nothing more than drug peddlers. But what makes Damo come off as different from the other proud rock humans in the Rokakaka organization is that Damo has self-preservation on the mind at all times, so much so that he would show someone gratitude for showing him a flaw in his system. And we see this during his interrogation of Josefumi and Kira, where Damo promises to not only not go after Holly Joestar Kira, who the two robbed Damo to get a Rokakaka for, but he also promised that he would show one of the two pity, as even though they had robbed him, they had also shown him a unique flaw in his system that he can then in the future address and prevent anyone from ever doing this again. But even though he acts so strict on the surface, we see that his self-preservation mentality sort of shoots his own business in the foot, where in order to protect his life, he offers Gappy a business partnership, which would basically mean him giving Gappy a Rokakaka to save Holly. And it would seem that Araki was using Damo as a demonstration for his newly developing understanding of what he finds cool and uncool. Explaining in his author's note, what makes something cool is that it enriches your life, and doesn't present an aura of smugness. He uses the comparison of someone drying their clothes on a drying pole to someone who sets up Christmas lights in their home so everyone can see them. With the drying pole, that is cool because it helps Araki connect with someone while also remembering that he has his own laundry to do. With the Christmas lights, it's uncool because it gives off an aura of smugness that their lights are so good that people should be able to see them from any point. Araki's mind works weirdly sometimes. But we see these ideas imparted onto Damo as a character, as when he enters the story, he's very cool. Someone who plays the protagonists as fools and acts with determination to show us who truly is in charge in the city. So like the drying pole, even though he looks uncool on the surface, deep down he's probably one of the coolest characters that we've seen through JoJo. But slowly, over the course of the fight, he becomes less and less cool as his smugness and confidence shines through, which in turn leads him to opening his defenses, getting attacked, and being reduced to the point that he's groveling for his life, which is pretty uncool and why he gets a pretty pitiful death. But no matter how cool or uncool he was, at the end of the day, Damo was a great minor antagonist for JoJolion, and probably one of the best mid-bosses, if not the best mid-boss of all of JoJo. He was so good, in fact, that some people would have preferred him to stay around and become the major antagonist of the part, and some assume that that's what he was going to do, given how closely he was related to Gappy's past. So hopefully, the actual main antagonist of Part 8 can live up to the legacy of the mid-boss that followed them. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like it in the future, I have a Patreon at patreon.com/MinnieNotTheBadGuy. And if you want to be a legend just like Damo, well, first you have to buy yourself a copy of Shimonetta, Boring World Where the Concentrated Jokes Doesn't Exist, at buyshimonetta.com. Start laundering copies of Shimonetta to your friends. It's a process.